This man is gentle and polite, but more twisted than anyone. In order to enjoy the youthful scent of a single woman, he happily snuck into the house of the woman he'd been stalking for a long time. However, he accidentally witnessed the woman dying tragically in a pool of blood. But the perverted man, who was scared and confused, was afraid his twisted habits would be discovered, so he didn't call the police. Instead, he cleaned up his traces and fled. What's even stranger is, when the perverted man came back to the woman's house, her body not only mysteriously disappeared, but there wasn't even a trace left. What surprised him even more was that he became the only suspect in a murder case with no body. This is the latest 2024 Korean thriller suspense movie, filled with unpredictable, high-stakes twists. A perverted stalker meets a crazy masked beauty, battling intelligence, madness, and who's more twisted. It's a following that will drive even perverts crazy. The perverted man is named Kevin, a registered agent at a real estate company. He works in this industry just to satisfy his twisted hobby of spying on other people's lives. With a self-righteous belief in his respect and awe for the profession, he shamelessly uses his clients' trust to sneak into their homes, helping them with repairs and small tasks, while secretly stealing little things to collect in his secret stash, enjoying the new prizes he collects. While replenishing his energy at a nearby supermarket, the strange behavior of a random woman nearby immediately triggered his strong voyeuristic desire. She was clearly eating a sausage, but posted a photo of a salad. Kevin became interested in her. So, Kevin, using his years of creepy experience, quietly began to follow her. He easily found her address and some other information. The woman's name was Sophie, a social media influencer who paid a lot of attention to her outward appearance. To gain attention, she often posted photos that were completely fake and did not match reality. But unexpectedly, the vain Sophie suddenly changed her image and began doing good deeds that everyone praised. This only sparked Kevin's curiosity even more. So, he crazily followed and observed her every day. And in order to sneak into Sophie's house and freely enjoy her solitary life, he shamelessly tried repeatedly to guess her home's password. But after many days of relentless effort, it could not be said to have any effect. It was basically all in vain. Faced with a huge challenge, just as Kevin was about to give up, Sophie unexpectedly came to his real estate company. This sudden surprise made him very excited, but in order to keep Sophie and make her his client, he used his years of sleazy experience in flattery and successfully gained Sophie's trust. She even handed him her keycard to take care of. Once Kevin got the keycard, he waited for Sophie to leave, then quickly and quietly entered her home. He deeply inhaled the air of the room he had longed for, carefully observing every corner of the room. When he saw the clogged drain, he used all his strength to fix it, and as usual, took a few small, inconspicuous items. Just as he was happily about to leave, he noticed that the light bulb was broken. A few days later, Kevin happily returned to Sophie's house to fix the light bulb, but when he arrived, he saw Sophie dead on the sofa. However, fearing he might be implicated, Kevin, in a panic, temporarily fled. But he couldn't shake the unease, so he brought a potential home buyer with him, pretending to show the house as an excuse, hoping to have the buyer report the murder to the police for him. But when he arrived, he found that Sophie, who had been dead on the sofa, mysteriously disappeared. This left Kevin completely confused, unable to believe what had happened. He spent every day restless, debating whether to call the police. A mysterious letter sent to him nearly made Kevin faint on the spot. Inside the letter were photos of Sophie's death and all the evidence of him secretly sneaking into her home. But just then, a call from the funeral home pushed him further into a breakdown. Someone had torn up the only memorial photo of his mother. As he sadly tried to piece the torn photo together in his car, a driverless car almost ran him over, nearly killing him on the spot. Meanwhile, the female police officer investigating Sophie's disappearance, using information provided by the woman who reported the case, quickly found Kevin, who hadn't yet shaken off his fear. Though he narrowly avoided being questioned by the officer, the policewoman investigating Sophie's house sharply noticed a pool of blood under the sofa. This sent Kevin into even greater panic, but in order to clear his name, he had no choice but to investigate people who had been in contact with her. After a night of searching, Kevin quickly discovered that a female influencer, who had a very bad relationship with Sophie, had stirred up hatred online, inciting her followers to attack Sophie with negative rumors. Using his years of sleazy experience, Kevin easily found the female influencer's address from a video she posted. That night, under the pretense of buying a second-hand microphone she was selling, he lured her out of her house. Then, he quietly entered her home. Inside, he found many suspicious clues. On the influencer's computer, he discovered a perverted man who often imitated Sophie. Kevin suspected he was the killer. As he pondered this, Kevin, distracted and just back at home, was suddenly attacked by two people wearing helmets, seemingly trying to kill him. Fortunately, after a terrifying and chaotic struggle, Kevin narrowly escaped unharmed. After telling the female police officer about the attack and his suspicion of the perverted man, Kevin followed her back to his home. But when they arrived, they found the perverted man who had attacked him earlier strangely hanged from the ceiling. On top of a pile of dirt, there was an envelope containing a photo of Kevin and the perverted man together. This left Kevin completely trapped, unable to explain himself no matter how many times he tried. In order to find the real killer and clear his name, Kevin had no choice but to knock out the female officer and escape for the time being. Meanwhile, the female influencer, trying to gain more attention, was live streaming and dramatically spreading rumors that Kevin was very likely the one who killed Sophie. Now a wanted man all over the city, Kevin, desperate to clear his name, used money to track down the perverted man's home. There, he found an important clue on a piece of paper in the trash can. He then went to the funeral home, stole his mother's urn, and sure enough, inside, he found the weapon used to kill Sophie, along with a note threatening him with his secret stash. At this point, Kevin, nearly driven insane, mistakenly believed the female influencer had killed Sophie. He went straight to her live streaming room and aggressively interrogated her. It was only then that he learned the previous attacks on Sophie by the influencer were actually a scheme the two of them had concocted to gain attention. As for the perverted man, he was simply a fan of the influencer, whom she had pushed onto Sophie in order to escape his obsessive admiration. The reason she was afraid something would happen to Sophie was why she decided to report it to the police. But when Kevin realized that all the envelopes contained Sophie's belongings, his mind went blank. Suddenly, he recalled that the mysterious person who had attacked him at home was likely the deceased Sophie. It turned out that Sophie was completely insane. For the sake of money, she was willing to do anything, even to the point of wanting to sell her own brother. After being ruthlessly kicked out by her family, she worked at a nightclub. But because she wasn't attractive enough, she not only got beaten by customers, but was also mocked by other women in the industry. In the midst of endless pain, she even considered suicide. But when she saw that her fake photos, posted online after getting cosmetic surgery, became extremely popular, she decided to disguise herself as a kind-hearted influencer. She started adopting homeless animals to gain sympathy from countless online followers. She also raised huge amounts of money in donations. To attract even more attention, she secretly and cruelly harmed the stray animals and even teamed up with the female influencer to deliberately create public attacks against herself. But one day, when she realized that Kevin was stalking her, she mistakenly thought her dark deeds had been discovered. To prevent her secrets from being exposed, when she learned that Kevin was a perverted stalker, she deliberately handed him a keycard under the guise of selling him a house. She pretended to become his target and then contacted the perverted man, luring him into helping her create a fake scene of her own murder. To destroy the most important thing to Kevin, she even smeared her blood on the weapon, then had the perverted man place it in her mother's urn. Finally, she sent Kevin a photo of her supposed death, trapping him perfectly in the web she had set, and allowing herself to emerge as the victim. Although the plan was perfect, Sophie, in the process, failed to make it look like a suicide. To prevent her true actions from being exposed, she directly hanged the perverted man, whom Kevin had recognized, on the ceiling. She then placed the fake photo of the two of them in Kevin's house, making him the prime suspect in the police's eyes. However, what was even more terrifying was that the female police officer, who was investigating Sophie's death, discovered that Sophie seemed to be linked to another missing person case with an inseparable connection. Meanwhile, Kevin, who sensed he had been set up, arrived at his secret stash, only to be suddenly attacked by Sophie in a crazed fit. She stabbed him multiple times, and then, in a wild frenzy, she even stabbed herself in the thigh, rushing at Kevin to wrestle with him. She pretended to be subdued by him and then began screaming for help in a frantic, exaggerated way. This successfully made the police believe that Kevin was attempting to kill Sophie. Caught red-handed, Kevin was unable to explain himself and could only desperately fight off the officer's grip and escape once again. Seeing Sophie online, pretending to be a pitiful victim, Kevin had no choice but to contact the female police officer and confessed all the bad things he had done. Then, he deliberately placed evidence of her death photo in Sophie's house, successfully luring her to a remote warehouse. There, he intentionally revealed that she had secretly harmed stray animals, hoping to push her into a complete breakdown and make her confess to the crime she had committed. But the cunning Sophie didn't fall for it. Instead, she slowly tried to use charcoal to create a fake suicide scene to frame him. Seeing that all his efforts were in vain, Kevin intentionally revealed the camera hidden in the ceiling, making Sophie believe she was the ultimate winner. Then, he began revealing the secrets hidden deep within her, continuously provoking her anger. Pushed to the brink of collapse, Sophie finally, in her desperation, admitted to killing the woman. Meanwhile, the female police officer, following Kevin's tip, unearthed the body of the woman Sophie had murdered. Desperate to beg Kevin but failing, Sophie, seeing her crimes about to be exposed, went completely insane and tried to kill Kevin. However, the police officer finally arrived in time to bring her to justice. In the end, both of them received the punishment they deserved. This is the plot of the latest Korean movie, Following. If you're interested, you might want to check out the exciting original film.